Have further updates from the battlefield from the Russia-Ukraine conflict, where Moscow's defense ministry has reported that the Ukrainian army has lost roughly 1,150 troops in battles with Russian forces across all frontline areas over the past 24 hours. According to reports, the Ukrainian army has lost over 100 troops and an electronic warfare station in the responsibility area of Russia's Battle Group North. Around 215 troops and armoured combat vehicles in the responsibility area of Battleground West, and approximately 75 troops, a tank and 3 armoured combat vehicles in the responsibility area battle group of the South. During the last 24-hour period, the Ukrainian army also lost roughly 450 troops and 9 armoured combat vehicles in the responsibility area of Russia's Battle Group Center, and around 250 troops and an armoured combat vehicle in the responsibility area of Battle Group East, and around 60 troops and 5 jamming stations in the responsibility area of the battle group of the Dnipro area. Okay, Shruti joins us once again. Shruti, these figures that we've just mentioned, of course, they're extremely high over the past 24 hours. How credible are these numbers from Russia's defense ministry, and why does Russia publish them so aggressively?
Well, these numbers are high, but this has been the trend throughout the war, which is why there has been so much EU backing. Ukraine on its own is no longer able to sustain the war, and that's why these sanctions are coming down hard and fast. The conversation around this war is there is a reason why Trump tabled the format of land for peace for Ukraine, because he knows that until and unless European forces are now involved in this war, Ukraine doesn't have much manpower left. I do believe that this is the general trend of the war. During its peak times, they have lost about 6,000 to 7,000 a week. So this is something along the very same lines. And with the winter setting in and the energy crisis that is happening in the rolling blackouts and the energy crisis in Ukraine, thanks to the targeting of energy sector on both sides. While Russia's energy sector is targeted, it has alternate sources coming through to help its citizens out. But Ukraine, being smaller and its energy targets are limited, it is going to face a very, very tough winter again as the war comes close to its 4th year. And so it seems that the publishing of numbers is a reality check, I believe, from the Russian side to not just Ukraine, to all of Europe. In fact, US itself, that's why the statement earlier by Lavrov that US should wonder twice before trying to interfere directly, because these numbers show exactly that story, that Ukraine is unable to sustain this war on its own, and a smarter, faster peace, land for peace kind of a declaration would save its population as well as its resources from further Russian attacks. However, if the war does continue, other nations will have to be probably involved if the war is to continue, or Ukraine as an entity will find itself at the doorstep of complete economic as well as political collapse. So these numbers show exactly that story that the Russia is trying to sell to you. Of course, we do not know the numbers that Russia has lost, and that's why the story is half done. We would love to see what the Ukrainian forces claim, that in exchange for these 1,500 soldiers and so many equipment and losses that they have taken, what they have managed to hit on Russia back at.
Yes, Shruti Dasgupta, thank you very much for joining us here on NewsX World. We now move on over to South America, and students, unions and social groups have participated in a march in Quito, Ecuador, calling to vote no in the referendum proposed by Ecuador's President Daniel Noboa. On November the 16th, Ecuadorians will vote in a referendum on 4 key issues, allowing foreign military bases, convening a constituent assembly to draft a new constitution, eliminating state funding for political parties, and reducing the number of assembly members. Ecuadorians are demonstrating to vote no over the possible return of foreign military bases. Let's in fact listen into what some protesters had to say.
Está en riesgo una constitución que le molesta precisamente al poder, quieren volver a esa vieja constitución del 98, neoliberal y que favorecía a los sectores pudientes. Por eso,
aquí estamos en defensa del presupuesto universitario, en defensa de la gratuidad de la educación superior. No vamos a permitir que un presidente indolente y que nació en Miami pretenda quitarnos este derecho que lo conseguimos en las calles.
Este 16 de noviembre le decimos no a Daniel Noboa, primero porque entendemos que es una consulta que se gasta alrededor de 60 millones, que bien es cierto se pudieron haber distribuido a otras necesidades urgentes del...
We're now joined by Dr. Satoru Nagao. He's a fellow at the Hudson Institute and he joins us live from Tokyo. Dr. Nagao, thank you very much for joining us. Why is the presence of foreign troops such a sensitive issue still in Latin America?
Indeed, this is a direct link with the law and order issue and the drug issue. The Ecuador is a country located between the Colombia and Peru, so that's why the two neighbors had the drug problem originally. But when the U.S. military base in Manta in the Ecuador is located, that time these U.S. troops sending many reconnaissance plane and checks drug cartels move, so that's why indeed the drug do not come to the Ecuador even if they are just between the two drug affected countries. So that's why that time the drug issue was not a big problem for Ecuador. But after that, the left-wing government swung in and pushed this U.S. base out. And since this U.S. withdrawal from the Ecuador, the drug flow into the Ecuador and law and order has deteriorated at a very drastic pace. For example, the murder incident has increased 5 times bigger. So that's why this was a very dangerous place at that time. Of course, now under the new president, they try to improve, but one of the solutions is regain the U.S. base in Ecuador. So instead of the Manta, they are suggesting Galapagos Island, and if the U.S. use it, they can deploy the recognized plane and check the drugs ship and improve the law and order in the Ecuador. The Ecuador government is expecting. View from the left-wing people in the country, or the view from the drug cartel-supported people, of course, this is not welcome. So that's why some people try to refuse this. But view from the law and order issue, someone should take charge, and the Ecuador armed forces and police hasn't been the enough level to cracking down the drug cartel. View from this reality, indeed accepting foreign base is one of the solutions. So that's why this is a good choice, but and many people believe it, but at the same time, some part of the people still do not have the will to accept it. And that is the situation, I think.
Yes, Dr. Nagao, thank you very much for joining us here on News X World. It's always a pleasure to have you on the programme. Now we move over to Europe, and Cardiff will host the opening match of the 2028 European Football Championships on June the 9th, while London's Wembley Stadium will stage the final a month later on July the 9th. The announcement came from UEFA on Wednesday, confirming that the tournament will be co-hosted by England, Scotland, Wales and Ireland. Matches will be held across 9 venues in 8 cities, including Birmingham, Dublin, Glasgow, Liverpool, Manchester and Newcastle. UEFA President Alexander Ceferin attended the official launch in London, where a small protest took place outside. Demonstrators voiced opposition to Israel's participation in UEFA events. Police were present, but the event continued without any disruption. UEFA says the Euro 2028 is expected to generate around £3.6 billion in economic benefits for the UK and Ireland between 2028 and 2031. Meanwhile, Belfast will host the Euro 2028 qualifying draw in December of 2026. England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales will take part in qualifying, with 2 automatic places available if any of the hosts fail to qualify. England were runners-up at Euro 2024, while Scotland exited in the group stage. Wales and Ireland missed out on that tournament entirely.